Adjusting when you take your Canada pension plan can get you double the amount of pension benefit. But most people don't. Why is that? The best start date is not necessarily a birthday. It is a strategy. In the next few minutes, we will dive into everything CPP. What goes into the calculation, what key points affect the pension benefit, and ultimately, some of the timing mistakes that we often see. So the CPP is a government pension that is your own dollars contributed throughout your working career. It is meant to provide a base level of income throughout your whole retirement. It's calculated on a number of different factors. A few of the key ones, obviously your contribution history, how long you've been putting into and the amount that you put in year over year. If there is any special circumstances, such as child rearing years, don't worry, we'll get to that. And ultimately, one of the biggest decisions, when you start your Canada pension plan. The fastest way to ground this in reality is to pull up your own My Service Canada statement of earnings. It shows all of your contributions throughout the years and even gives you an estimate for a few of those ages that you might take. Probably 60, 65, and 70. Once we have your contribution history, that's where the calculations begin. One lesser known piece of the CPP program is that there are dropout provisions. Some of those lower income years don't immediately penalize you. If that is getting out of school and taking a few years to find the job, if that's getting laid off further down your career, or if that's finally making the decision to retire at 60 instead of 65, this is meant to allow life to happen. If you were the primary caregiver for a child under the age of 7 and your income dropped, there are child rearing provisions in place to drop out those years if it increases your pension. This is one area that paperwork matters, so as you apply to receive your Canada pension, make sure that the details are accurate. If you have a more complicated situation, such as going through a divorce or separation, which requires you to split your CPP credits, or living outside of Canada for an extended period of time, or a history of some disability, there are professionals that you can consult with that'll do a deep dive into everything related to your specific CPP situation and come out with an optimal time to start receiving your benefit. Not everyone needs a specialist, but the more complicated situations, it's usually worth it. Now to the meat of this video. Timing is where the money is. Let's take a look at an example. Let's assume at 65, your Canada pension plan benefit would be $1,000 a month. If we were to take that at age 60, that is a 36% decrease in your benefit. That's $640 a month. On the other hand, let's say that you deferred until age 70. That is a 42% increase to your benefit. It's $1,420 a month. And that is not a temporary change. That is a permanent change to an index to inflation benefit through time. We know that math is going to point us in one direction most times. Spreadsheets will typically say deferring makes sense. However, we know that spreadsheets don't rule every decision. A couple of the key considerations that we go through with our clients: health, whether that's your own health or family history. A lot of people believe that they will pass away sooner than what they really do. The fact of the matter is, with modern medicine, and if you're watching this video, you're probably approaching retirement age already, your life expectancy is into the mid-80s, with a good chance of you seeing early 90s. And if you're in a couple, there's a 10% chance that one of you sees age 100. However, if you have a diagnosis that you know shortens your life expectancy, taking your CPP early is a stronger option. If you're past 65 and deferring, there is some flexibility if life changes, whether that is a health issue arising or cash flow needs change. You have the ability to retroactively apply for the past 11 months. You forfeit the deferral that you were doing within that period, But again, if life changes, that is a nice way to tap into the CPP benefit without feeling like you have been pigeonholed by the deferral. If you're approaching retirement age, you probably remember a lot of the conversations in the 90s talking about how the Canada Pension Plan program was not well funded. Nowadays, that's not as much a concern. Studies show that it's well funded for the next 75 years. And so all this to say is that spreadsheets can say one thing. We know psychology says another. And oftentimes, somewhere in the middle is usually the right approach. If you want to play around with your own information from your contributions history, we will leave a link down below to a great CPP calculator that visually represents both your benefit through time, the dropout years, and how those might play throughout your contribution history, as well as helping you potentially flip the framing from can I get my money out of it to how much am I giving up if I take it early. One final consideration when it comes to the Canada Pension Plan program is survivor benefits. If your spouse were to pass away and they've contributed to the CPP program, you may be eligible for survivor pension. However, these amounts are capped, and so it may not be to the same extent that you're used to collecting. As you can hopefully tell, there is no shortage of decision points with CPP. So if you find yourself at a loss for your own personal situation, reach out to a professional, whether that's us or otherwise, and we can make sure that you get on the best path for your own financial future.